Okay, we are here with Kris Fuchigami and his mother, Keiko Fuchigami. And we are so thrilled because we love Kris and his mother because they bring us such joy. They bring us amazing um, s songs and sounds, and of course, Kris is, an award-winning composer and musician and ukulele player, and he has won for 3 years the Hoku Hanu Hanu Award for, his compositions, and he had his album, was nominated for Best Album of the Year in 2018. It was called More Than This. So Kris is quite accomplished. He has traveled around the world in presenting incredible music, and we are just thrilled to have him and his mother here talking about what the realities of being an artist are. So welcome.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much taking part of your Sunday to do this. It's very interesting. Being an artist is an important thing, and I was wondering, when did you first realize that you had, the talent and the drive to become a professional artist?
Well, for me, it was a really rough start because on day one, I was able to really grasp and be able to play the instrument really well. Um, and because that happened, I got super prideful for about a decade. It was just a big problem. And so um, I don't like to say it, but from day one, from day one, I felt like I was gonna be this mega artist, but there were so many bumps along the road that kept telling me otherwise. But yeah, if we get into the story later, I'll tell a little bit more on that. But it was just a really prideful, bumpy road in the beginning. Um, Even though I thought that I was gonna be an artist from day one.
That's so exciting. I mean, you had a passion from the very beginning. Um, it's amazing how was there a defining moment that things really changed and looked up for you? That
No,
you
so
knew that your trajectory was going to be that way?
the whole time I was super prideful from like age 13 to age 21 maybe, and so the defining moment for me was actually um, realizing that I was causing majority of my problems, where and realizing maybe you're not where you want to be because of your attitude, maybe you're not where you want to be because of you're not as good as you think that you are, even though that you think that you're on this different level than everyone. And it was just coming to the realization that this pride, this pride that you've been carrying for all these years, thinking that you're the best, is killing your career, and it's killing you from taking that next step and having your career, having my career shoot off. And so the big part that was the defining moment, was just realizing that yeah, you got to change, or this is not going to be good. It's not going to end well. I think you're muted.
I thank you so much for that. And when you came to those forks in the road, those difficult points, how did you ever overcome those challenges?
Well, at first, when they just kept happening over and over, I just felt like the world was against me, and so there's no point in me trying to change anything because it's just pure bad luck. But after a while, realizing that it was more so my attitude and more so that I had to change, then um, I just had to stay strong throughout that entire time and just focus on, there's one main goal, and that is to be able to travel the world and share my music with people. And in order to reach that, this is this, you have to change. And immediately after, not immediately, but after we changed it, we started to see things starting to pick up. But it just took having that goal in the back of my head through all those years. Um, and that's the one thing that kept me going. I feel like if I didn't have that goal lingering on in the background, uh, after getting smashed for so many years, I would have probably quit.
Wow. That must have been, pretty amazing. You know, Kiko, when you saw your son going through these trials and tribulations, it was not easy. What were you, sensing, and what were you thinking at that time? And were you providing him advice at the time, or how did you support him during this time?
Actually, I didn't know that he had this horrible attitude throughout the age 13 and 21. I just found out from him just now. So I'm like, cause he's very very quiet in his real life. All these thoughts and stuff, it's all in his mind. So he's just looking normal and quiet and smiling and cute. So in his mind, he has all of this anger or pride or these ill thoughts against other players or whatever. So I never knew that he was this prideful and all of that until like few seconds ago he said it on the screen. So so, but I did notice that whenever he ran into problem or all that, I noticed that he would be angry. He would just show a little bit of it, but I didn't realize that he was having so much problem with all those. And then I did notice that when he would start to be prideful, I would notice a little bit of that in his attitude. And when I would see that my job was to make him humble. So when I would start to see it, my job was to get a huge hammer and I would pound his head onto the ground. That was my job as a mom because
Mm.
I don't want my child to get such a bad attitude as a prideful child. I want I wanted my child to always have a humility in his heart and a humble heart and a kind heart so he will not look down on anyone and he would always be kind and nice to anyone around him. So I was always carrying an invisible hammer with me to everywhere I went. So I would never create a child that has um, such a bad attitude like she's telling me right now that he had all these years that I didn't
Wow, that sounds like a real alignment there. I mean, boy, it's and Chris, how is by your mom being tough on you, by keeping you humble,
Hmm.
how did that affect your passion? How did that affect your development?
I think it affected it in a positive way, because every time like it started to get rough, it was always the same thing. It was a bunch of pride building up, and then everything going totally wrong, and then my mom talking to me, becoming humble again, and then slowly it starts to build up to the prideful thing again, and it was just this never-ending circle. Um, until like what we were saying earlier, we finally came to that realization that a majority of the problems were being caused by me. Um, but just having my mom there every single time throughout the cycle repeating itself over and over was a good positive thing, and it's still till today. I mean, don't really have that run into that problem much these days, but it's always when we travel, it's always good to have my mom there too because she plays the keyboard with me. She travels with me everywhere. It's always good to have her there just to give a little that sense of home and to always keep your roots uh, attached and yeah, just to help never reach that point ever again.
know.
Wow. I mean, that's really beautiful. And this the balance that your mom creates for grounding you, for making sure that you know where your home is and um that she's supporting you at the same time. It's almost like a tough love.
Yeah, definitely.
And everyone has a different definition of what tough love is, but boy, that's absolutely beautiful. Did when you were going through, that time frame in the early years, can you talk about how, how you developed yourself from an education standpoint? Did was it important for you to study from certain musicians to improve what or how did you approach that?
Well, for the first, I'd say 2 years, it was all by ear, and it was just picking things up on my own. After a while, then we got a ukulele teacher, but the ukulele teacher was a little different from the standard ukulele teacher. He's a guitar teacher, and so he would and at this point in time, ukulele wasn't as popular as it is now, and so he there was no like formula to follow. So all he would do was listen to songs by Jake Shimbukuro and help to transcribe them a little closer to how he plays it. That was pretty much my music training. So a lot of the music training came later on from listening to different genres and different artists and stepping out from the ukulele world and not just listening to ukulele players, but listening to singers. And that was a big help in my development as well because when I first started to try to write music, it was such a big problem that I couldn't do it at all. Uh, to me, writing music back then when I was around 14, 15 years old, because I was only listening to Jake Shimbukuro or Herbota Jr. or all these other ukulele players that are only playing instrumental, my thought process on writing a song was just you put together a bunch of techniques for about 3 to 4 minutes, and you call it a song. And so I would do that, and the songs made absolutely zero sense, and I was just stuck for a number of years. And it wasn't until I started branching off to listening to different artists um, and learning the structure of how a song should be. You know, has a intro, verse, chorus, and bridge, and all that stuff. And it was a lot of training through listening to these different singers and um, in order to develop the and be able to write music.
Wow. That sounds really important. But again, that was you saw you took you to a certain place and then you sort of like went to a different plateau at that point.
Yeah,
And mom, it's like for both of you, what advice would you have for aspiring musicians in terms of skill development? Was there everyone has their own way, or is there something that there's some fundamental things that are really important to have?
I think for skill development, it just my advice is to practice like crazy. And if we're talking about like playing, um, I used to when I first started playing the instrument, I used to play it for hours a day, just trying to develop um, different skills and also working on um, creating my own style. It just took hours and hours of practice, and it's a in the beginning there it's difficult because the if you're wanting to make a career out of it, you're not you're it's going to be a number of years before you start seeing um, any type of what would you call it like gaining any type of momentum. You're not gonna just practice hard and then all of a sudden you're gonna be famous or whatever you're shooting for. It's just gonna take a ton of years, at least 4 or 5 years of practicing just to get to that point. But you just gotta keep in mind that this practice will pay off one day. The reward is not right now, but it will come if you just continue to practice your hardest every single day. So yeah, that'll be my advice is just to practice.
No shortcuts on that one, huh?
No shortcuts.
My advice is that just because I play piano, um, any musician, I think that to have a very basics knowledge of music is super important, like how to read music, music notes, or how to like, oh, well, the reading music notes are very important. It saves so much time from like if you don't know how to read notes, and or if you don't know how to read guitar chords or whatever, that would um that would be very hard, because in the beginning Chris didn't know how to read notes or how to read those the guitar chords and
Mm.
stuff. He suffered so much. So if you start off with just learning the basics of music, then it would give you so much more options in, I guess, learning uh, music. I think to me that is very important. Yeah.
That sounds really smart. Just the options are so critical.
Yeah.
Just to be able to motivate to go in different directions.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Chris, can you talk about misconceptions about being an artist and as you as you Kiko?
Um, I think some of the misconception about being an artist is that it's this grand, glamorous life of fame, and you get out of the limousine, and you go to these different places. You have all the paparazzi around, but in actuality, um, so one of the things that I would like to share is that it's very uh, it's a very tough um, thing to get into, and it will continue to be tough. Like I was saying, um, when I was growing up, I just thought about all the paparazzi following me everywhere and doing and all this glamorous stuff. But when you're touring, um, it is only you, and when you get on that stage, and there's a bunch of people there waiting for you, and it's such a great feeling. But the part that is not hidden, but is not talked about, is that after the show, after it's everything is quiet, you're getting back in your car by yourself, you're going back to the hotel by yourself, and then you're driving to the next city. Luckily, I have my mom with me, so we always are together. We're never lonely, and we always have that piece of home with us. But for an artist that is traveling by themselves, it is quite lonely unless you have a team traveling with you.
Thank you. Kiko, would you like to answer that as well about any misconceptions about being an artist? I mean, those are really what you said, Chris, was very honest. Because it seems like you have you're under the spotlight, you're under the glamour, but that after the concert, it's almost like time to recollect yourself
Yeah,
and to
yeah,
Misconception.
yeah,
Oh, one of the things that people misunderstand is like people think that we can play anything on the spot and we can sound so beautifully. Whatever they request, we can just play like magic. But it's not so at all. When we play nicely, that's because we practice that song like 1,000 times to be perfect. So like if we sound really perfectly, because we probably play the song like 100 times until it sounds perfectly.
wow, that is so interesting. 'Cause yeah, I mean, it looks you make it look so easy. You
Yeah.
make it's like it's seamless and there's a reason for it. But I think it's you're like any athlete, any artist um that it comes through hard work
yeah.
and long hours. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that because that's um yeah, you can appreciate those who perform it it's not out of something that they out of the blue. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. Wow. Okay, here's the tough question. Here's the tough question. How do you handle the financial aspects of being an artist?
Oh, could you repeat the question?
Sure, sure. Yeah, how do you handle the financial aspects of being an artist?
Oh, that was a really tough one, because when I was growing up, I thought, especially if you're like an indie artist and you're on your own, um, back then I thought that you're gonna get with a big label and they're gonna pay for everything, but that's not really the case, especially in today's music industry. and it's whenever you go on tour, there's a bunch of different things that you got to think about, which is the flights to each city, the car rental, the hotel. Um, it's just a bunch of things that really adds up. So um, you really have to be uh, if you're going to be a full-time musician, you have to be really wise in all your decisions you make financially in order to be able to afford, because you will have to fork up the money first, the travel fees and everything, in order to get to that show to make the money. But you need the money at first. But for me, um, I work a full-time job as well, which helps with being able to travel, and then I also teach music. Um, and so I feel really blessed that I do have something else that is helping to fund my music career. Um, but yeah, I feel like if you don't have that extra job on the side, it's going to be really difficult to go tour. It would be um, if you're not a busy touring musician, it would be difficult to even get out there, and you would I feel like you would be leaning more towards um, performing the local scene um, because it just costs so much to tour.
Thank you so much. That was it seems like you need to be a very multidimensional person in order to really make it,
Yeah.
uh, and be practical about the realities of it.
Hmm.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, can you talk about the balance between artistic expression and commercial viability? Do you have to concern yourself with um the balance of your compositions or your playing with those two factors?
What do you mean by that?
Um, when you're artistic, versus playing something more commercial, something that you know that everyone will like automatically. Do you have to so concern yourself to say, oh, is this going to be something that people will appreciate hearing versus something that you might be drawn to something more creative?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for originals, it's not so bad. I mean, you're gonna play a few originals in your set, but you always like we what we've seen throughout the years is that a lot of people gravitate towards songs that they know. So it really does have an influence on what songs that you pick. Because sometimes there's some songs that I just absolutely love, um, but because it doesn't have like 100 million views behind it, and that big um, popularity behind it, I do see myself here and there stray away from playing the the song that I think sounds really cool, and then gravitating towards the song that will be popular with the audience. So yeah, I really feel like it does have a big influence when choosing what to play.
Hmm. And how about composing? Because that almost that's a very personal situation, and you obviously have been award winning on many different levels. So, can you comment on the when you do your compositions?
Oh yeah, for me composing, I don't hold anything back. Well, because the composition is usually about a life story, whether it be funny or if it's serious. It's always just it's from the heart, and so I feel like no matter because I that is the way that I compose. Even if it's about some different topic, it will always we find that it will always hit it off with somebody in the crowd that is going through something similar. That's the great thing about originals is that because it's about something that is personal, and it always can relate to other people that are going through something similar.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. And it seems like your pieces that you where you've won your awards, it's from the compositions. It's from those universal kind of stories that people can relate to.
Yeah, yeah.
and with the things that have been drawing you to it, it's just been beautiful. Wonderful. Can you talk about the sacrifices that you've had to make in order to pursue a career in the music industry?
Um, Sacrifices is a lot of time. Um, when I was coming up, I didn't hang out with friends because I was always practicing, always trying to fly and promote ourselves in different places. So, from after I graduated high school, I stopped hanging out with friends for a good 5 years, trying to get our music career rolling, and to this day, it's just a lot of sacrificing. I mean, like we're talking about the financial part, because I have my job, um, sacrificing that and going to work to help fund the music career. As soon as I get home from work, I'm going straight to my wife and my kids, and then as soon as they're going to sleep, then I'm trying to work on the music career. So it's really it's sacrificed a lot of time, free time. Um, but again, if the goal is big enough to you, then these sacrifices aren't really sacrifices. It's just things that you got to do to obtain what you're shooting for.
Thank you so much. And Keiko, can you comment on that? I mean, sacrifices as a mother, because you definitely have dedicated much of your practicing, you're investing in time and traveling with Kris as well. Can you talk about the sacrifices that you have had to make? Um, or do you see them as sacrifices, or do you see it as it more of an investment in your beloved
Um,
child?
I don't think that a sacrificing because I love to travel and I I love to go places because all my children are all grown up and they're all adults, and then it's just me and my husband, especially when we started traveling really heavily. So going places with Kris, performing music is just really fun for me, and I look forward to going places. Practicing music. Music has always been my a big part of my life, so I don't consider it as sacrifice. It's always fun. So I never considered that. I never thought of that as sacrifice. So it's always just fun. So I never. Well, so I just think of it as fun.
That's fabulous. Oh, it sounds like another trip's coming on soon.
Yeah, free trip to Disneyland.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. What a great comparison wow. It's yeah, it sounds like it's been a wonderful investment. Kris, how do you stay motivated during any kind of challenging times?
Just like I was saying before, it's just having that goal in the back of your mind. Um, like there, even to today, like the most challenging times were in when we first started off, and it was just a rocky start. But even today, there's just stuff happening in personal life and or your music life, and you just it's you have to be able to separate your mind into two places. Like sometimes your personal life is just really not going great and everything is going bad in there, but then uh, in the midst of that, in the next hour you got to go on stage and you got to perform. You got to be able to separate the two different lives. Um, but it's just being able to uh, again going back to having that goal in the back of your mind. Just know that these struggles are going to happen, but you just keep pushing forward and it will pass. There's nothing will ever be, no problem will ever be permanently just damaging you over and over and over. There will come a time where it will pass and and then you'll be able to move on. So I feel like with that mentality, I always feel like you just gotta keep pushing through until it passes.
Beautiful. What advice would you give to prospective artists at this point and their parents? I'd like to hear from both of you on both regards. What would you tell an artist if they're really interested in music? How how focused do they need to be? How committed do they need to be? And what advice would you give to the parent on how to encourage their child?
Well, I feel like you have to put 100% in it. There were times where I was just putting one. I had one foot in the door, one foot out, and when you do that, um, you will see zero progress because you gotta be devoted to this 100%. Um, and another thing that we learned throughout the years is just to grow tough skin, because there's gonna be there are a ton of positive things in this in the music industry, but there are also a ton of negative things where you're gonna have to have tough skin and be able to just push through any negativity coming your way. Um, yeah, that's some little advice that I like to offer.
Wow, thank you. And from a parent standpoint,
Um, I don't know. I didn't really tell Chris what to do when he was growing up. He was self-motivated child, and when he was wanted to do, it, he just went without me pushing him or anything. He was always just going, going, going. But if one thing I would give a parent advice, I would just say like just um, watch them and just stand from a little bit far away. Just don't push them too much, just because you think they have so much talent. If you push them too hard or too much, they might not one day want to do it or something. You just gotta watch them from a bit a distance and just let them do what they really want to do. And if you have advice, maybe you can tell them a little, but not um, push them too hard. Just watch over them and let them try their wings, um, and to let them do what they want to do. And if you give her advice, just give them a little and not too much. Yeah,
oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
yeah.
Now, Chris, you mentioned that you teach, that you have classes as well. And I would imagine you might see parents of all varieties encouraging their child to become an artist. Maybe helicopter parents, people the ones that are very involved in their child's development. Is there any advice that you would provide to those kind of parents who want to be very engaged with their child's development?
Yeah, I'd say that my advice to them would just be to continue to support. Like, um, for me, uh, when I first started playing music, my dad was really a massive supporter. Like, he wanted to just keep encouraging me to uh, pursue music, and so my dad would take me to all these different places that had to do with music or ukulele. He would fly us out to Oahu to go visit these different ukulele manufacturers or different ukulele artists, and he was always doing everything that he was that was in his power that he could to help motivate me to keep going and going, and and same as my mom taking me to ukulele lessons, and also in the future traveling the world with me and continue to encourage. And I feel like that's such a big part in the development for a child that is wanting to pursue something, um, is having the parent there to just encourage and just do everything that they can to help them along their way. Like what my mom was saying, that she it's not like they were trying like, hey, you gotta keep going and doing this. Um, no, it was more so from a standpoint like, if you want to do this, then I'm gonna do everything that I can to help you and to encourage you to do this without, yeah, like how she was saying, without being pushy. But I feel that that's my message to any parent is from personal experience, that just being there for your child 100% and doing everything to encourage them is is I feel like is the answer.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. And Chris, you have two beautiful boys and a beautiful family, and that has just expanded this realm of of uh of your life. And I just congratulations because you have a very supportive, obviously a very supportive family and wife. And if your wife in the industry as well, or is she
Oh, my wife is actually a cake decorator.
oh wow. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, her grandpa played. He's a falsetto Hawaiian music singer, and so that's pretty much the length of um, her foot in the music industry. But because she was always going to her grandpa's gigs when she was growing up, as soon as she met me and and we got married, and she was already kind of used to that lifestyle of the grandpa would have to go away and perform at different places. Um, and so she's been really big supportive part, even though she has totally different interests than what I do. She just supports 100%.
That's beautiful. I think yeah, that is there's creativity surrounding your kids. Do you do you hope that your kids have they picked up the ukulele and are they going to be taking that next legacy?
Yeah, so whenever I take my ukulele out to practice, when I'm at home, my firstborn comes. He starts picking the strings for like 15 minutes. I just sit there, and he's just plucking. I mean, he's not playing anything, but he's playing. And
Hmm.
then after he's done, then my second son, who is almost a year and a half now, he comes waddling over and he's playing,
Mm.
and they just take turns. And so the first like 20 to 30 minutes of my practice is pretty much me just holding my ukulele for them to play, and then finally they get bored, walk away, and then I'm able to practice.
That's adorable. I mean that's bonding right there. And then
Yeah,
I was going to expect like is your wife coming in as a third at the end or something? Oh, oh, that's
and my
beautiful.
and my wife is really hands on with them. I mean, whenever she's cooking, she tries to make it so that um, they can help in some way, so that they can use their hands, get involved, and because she's really artistic, she's always trying to like let them, even if you're making pizza or something, you just let them go with their hands with the, the sauce or whatever, and so they're getting that artistic push from different angles.
All right, I have to ask this. During holidays or family gatherings, is there a family jam with the kids and grandma as well?
No, there's not. Yeah, during the holidays it's really hectic, so we kind of just put the instruments away.
Well, maybe that'll be coming in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll see. We'll see. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being honest about your lives and as a means to inspire future artists and their parents to understand what life is like in being an artist. And one question as far as you're in Hawaii, it's I don't know how different it is, but what is it like? Do you think it's a lot different being an Asian American artist? The pros and cons of being an Asian American artist and now?
In Hawaii.
Hmm.
So in Hawaii, it's so like there's so many different cultures that you don't ever feel any difference. No matter where you go, like if I were to go to school or to work or to my gig or anything, you just feel there. It's just one word that describes everyone, which is local, uh, and there you don't get treated any different way or um, so I've never felt any difference being Asian in Hawaii. Every culture that I've seen in my 30 something years of living here, that every single culture is accepted. That's It's just the way Hawaii is. Hawaii is just so full of love that you always just feel positivity no matter what you're doing.
Wonderful. And how about when you come out when you travel?
When we come to like places like California, Japan, or any place that we travel, I that it's also it feels like it's just an extension of Hawaii because the people that are showing up to your performances just come are coming with so much love, because it's not as common as it is over here. Like over here, if you go down the street, you'll see somebody playing the ukulele. But in like if you're traveling out, they don't get to see it as often as we get to see it. So it's really whenever we travel to like California, um, it's so appreciated, and it's just so it warms your heart to come out to the shows and be surrounded with all these people that you just came from an island of love, and now you're coming to more love out and touring.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Wow. It's like I would imagine that provides a lot of motivation and it just keeps the circle going.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, both of you, for
Oh,
your honesty and wisdom. Really appreciate it.